So Boris Johnson, as we saw there today, published his defence dossier ahead of tomorrow's Kangaroo Court Privileges Committee hearing. But Rishi Sunak, his Chancellor, who spent months trying to depose him, has confirmed he will refuse to intervene in the Westminster witch hunt that he surely hopes will secure his anti-democratic premiership by hammering the final nail into Bojo's political coffin. Watch.
Are you prepared to give your Conservative MPs a free vote on that, to let them vote according to their own wishes? You're not going to tell them how to vote?
Yes, I mean, that's generally the rule of thumb with these things. These
are matters.
Yes, these are matters for Parliament and the House and MPs as individuals rather than for government. So that is the general process that we would follow.
It's a witch hunt. Do you agree?
Look, that's ultimately something for Boris Johnson, and he'll have the committee process to go through, and that's a matter for Parliament. That's not what I'm focused on.
No, of course it's not. You got your fixed penalty notice, you made the same comments in Parliament, and you're not facing the Privileges Committee. I wonder why. Meanwhile, across the pond, a similar pattern has been developing for months now, as US presidential, probably years, if we're honest, US presidential hopeful Donald Trump faces potential arrest over a historic hush money payment made to the adult film star Stormy Daniels. And much like Bojo, he believes he's been unfairly targeted by those with ulterior political motives.
These four horrible, radical left Democrat investigations of your all-time favorite president, me, is just a continuation of the most disgusting witch hunt in the history of our country. The Stormy Horseface Daniels extortion plot. They're all sick, and it's fake news. Our enemies are desperate to stop us because they know that we are the only ones who can stop them, and they know it very strongly.
But could the witch hunts against the Donald and Boris backfire? Both charismatic leaders who have a wave of entrenched public support behind them, which may only grow stronger after this week. So amidst growing concerns that stateside-style witch hunts to drive top politicians out of public life are spreading to Britain, are the left guilty of trying to eliminate those they disagree with from the political landscape? Christine Hamilton.
Well, I think you're being unfair on Rishi Sunak. What he said was absolutely right. This is a parliamentary matter. It would be quite wrong for the Prime Minister to take Rishi out of it, take Boris out of it. The situation that we have, it would be totally wrong if the Prime Minister of the day told MPs how to vote. It's got to be a free vote.
But that's acting, Christine, as if him and his allies had nothing to do with the Partygate investigation into the first place. And I'm sorry, yes, they did.
Yeah, but that's not the question. The question he was asked...
Well, it's not the question now.
No, will you... But he was being asked about now. The whole thing has now rolled forward. It's a parliamentary committee, and that has to take its course.
OK, let me put it to you this way.
The thing is...
No, but why not back Boris, Christine? Because, I'm sorry, Sunak, he worked in exactly the same situation as Boris all of that time. He also received a fixed penalty notice, Christine. Would it have really been too hard for Mr Sunak in that case to say, I worked close up with Boris Johnson over the course of the pandemic, I saw how hard he worked, I know he wasn't partying, he nearly lost his life, and then he did his best. Would it really have hurt Sunak to even just say that about the former Prime Minister?
No, of course it wouldn't.
But he didn't.
It would have been very magnanimous of him to do it. I suppose I'm just being very literal about the situation. No, if he wanted to do that, but you know...
But he doesn't want to, because he doesn't want Boris to come back.
No,
he wants him to be destroyed.
I said earlier, we're going to be left with a choice between a vacuum and a void. We've either got him or Starmer, and take your choice which is which. But if the committee, and I'm not at all sure that they will, but if they recommend suspension, it has to be voted on by the House of Commons. The Tory MPs, if they vote for that, they're voting for Christmas. The last thing they should want is a by-election in what is not a terribly safe seat. So I honestly don't think we're going to have the disaster scenario. But yes, of course, Sunak could have reached out a hand of friendship to Boris, but politics is ruthless.
Of course it is. But, Calvin, what a lot of people have not spoken about here is that they think that this is all a Labour stitch-up because of the Keir Starmer scandalous hiring of Sue Gray. And, by the way, that is a national scandal that we will be talking about for many, many weeks. However, what they're not talking about is the fact that actually many of the people who made this happen were Boris's enemies within his own party who wanted a Sunak premiership. And that's what they've now got.
Yeah, we've seen the coup firsthand, and I think there's nothing the British people hate more than an injustice, and we're seeing an injustice play out. So what's happening here is they're making a martyr of Boris Johnson. They're actually increasing his popularity, and that's the problem with character politics. We have adopted US-style character politics. We're seeing the exact same thing with Donald Trump. If he gets arrested, he's going to be the next president.
Yeah.
Do you think Sunak should have stepped in, Rebecca Reid?
I mean, in what world would he? Why would he have done? What would he have possibly gained from it? I think it's an extraordinary thing to consider that he would ever have done. Why? What? Like, I'm confused by why you're asking the question almost, because why would he? What would he have benefited from by doing that?
Well, I'll tell you why.
Would have been kind, I suppose.
Well, no. It's much more than that.
Kind
No.
people,
People are missing. Oh, no, I'll answer your question. People are missing what's at stake tomorrow. What this committee means now, the way that they have changed the definition of what could actually get Boris sanctioned from intentionally misleading Parliament to recklessly misleading Parliament, what that actually means is that this could happen to Sunak. You know, Sunak could go up in Parliament, be asked about some sort of national scandal based on advice from his officials or civil servants. He could give an answer which turned out to be correct, and he could now have political opponents drag him to the Privileges Committee, undermine democracy and force him out as Prime Minister. Is that the sort of system that we want to be operating in?
I think that realistically a Prime Minister should be in control of what they say, and the Prime Minister should be aware of what they're saying. And
but they don't. That's not realistic, Rebecca.
It's not
They're
realistic.
always relying on advice from
saying.
officials. They are constantly relying on advice from officials.
It's not realistic for the Prime Minister to know what they're saying.
Well, no, they have to rely on advice from officials and civil servants, and they have to believe that what they're being told is largely true.
This was the thing that people cared about most in the country at one point. Not me personally, but lots of people in this country cared more about this than anything else in the entire world. This should have been one where Boris should have been all over it and known everything he was saying. If it's about parking meters, sure, have some spad tell you what to say. If it's the thing that everybody in this country can't stop talking about, get your facts right.